Welcome, everybody, to today's session on leveraging Snowflake integration for smarter decision making. If you want to go to the next slide.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I'm Diana Gray. I'm the Senior Community Marketing Manager for UiPath. And today we have Samrat Dutta with us, who's a Senior Product Manager with Integration Services. So Samrat, I'm going to turn it over to you.
Yeah, thanks, Diana, for the quick intro. Hello, everyone. Thanks a lot for joining us this time around for the Connector Corner session. I will try to keep it interesting. Today's agenda, like Diana mentioned, is kind of going over a couple of things with respect to Salesforce, Snowflake, and of course Zendesk. The main problem that we are going to speak about is how the data is kind of siloed in different applications, which ideally needs to speak to each other, but as we speak are perhaps disparate, right? Um, and then how we kind of bring all of them together, you know, glue them and kind of perhaps showcase, um, you know, really business critical, data, right? For using which the stakeholders of a business can perhaps make better decisions, which are, of course, informed and based on data, right? So that's mainly the intent, and we are going to talk about that little bit more in. Actually, we are going to see it in a little bit. Um, but otherwise, what I also wanted to kind of um, I mean, how it differs from the other connector sessions, right? So we kind of have a new experience for the Snowflake activity pack. We definitely have a couple of exciting features that I want to talk about, and really get your feedback, right, towards what your understanding is, if this feature is something that you are going to use, or if there are any feedback, that I can go back and work with my engineering team to massage and perhaps give you a better experience, right? So those kind of things we are going to talk about. And with that, let's kind of go to our next slide, which is, yeah. So uh, I'm really hoping all of you are already aware of what integration service is, but if you are not, no problem. I'll just brush your memory and also, kind of give a brief overview of what integration service really is, right? So integration service um, is the API abstraction of how you would like to kind of automate two or more applications together. Um, so basically, in integration service, we have different connectors right now. As we speak, we have close to 120 connectors in production, um, which, and basically for all of these connectors, we have activities, right? As you know. So, uh, and using those activities, you can actually, bring pieces into your studio canvas and kind of build your or design your workflows, right? Um, yeah, so a brief understanding of integration service, I would like to stick to that. Obviously, we will take a look at other core scenarios while we move to the other slides and later part of the session. Um, but yeah, that's overall, I mean, that's the connector catalog we have. Of course, we have a scroll here. That's why I mentioned we have like close to 120 connectors today. We also have a build your own connector in case you are not able to find the connector of your choice. So you can just quickly go to the connector builder and perhaps build your own connector, right? Instead of waiting on product to kind of uh, give you that, right? So that's overall what integration service is. And we have a short recording of all the connectors. We have Salesforce, NetSuite, Fresh Service, of course, Snowflake, Zendesk, um, Jira, right? Okay, we'll move to the next slide. Okay. I think this is something which we can kind of breeze through, right? Integration service today also supports many activity packs for generative AI. So we have activity packs for OpenAI, Azure OpenAI, Bedrock, Vertex, Anthropic, right? Um, Outside of what we have seen so far, right? So feel free to try them out and also provide some feedback there. Okay, now coming to our focus and spotlight, right? Like I mentioned, we will be taking a look at a very interesting use case on how we can kind of um, you know, uh, uh, make these disparate systems talk to each other and, provide data visualizations for organizations to take better decisions. We'll come to the use case, but let's see. Hmm. Let's look at the objectives and value propositions, right? Who does this help, right? So the use case that we are talking about, data analysis, right, with sales data um, and support case data, customer data, how how we can kind of merge them together, right? So basically, actually let's start with understanding the use case. My bad, I should have done that earlier. So basically, what we are doing is for a closed one opportunity in Salesforce, we are kind of grabbing the customer data along with the address. We are grabbing the email and first name, last name of the customer in a customer table. Also, we are getting the ordered products data from Salesforce. Actually, opportunity products data, not order product data from Salesforce, and that would include things like the product code, the total amount of the opportunity, right? Quantity of the product order, and so on and so forth. And we are basically at the end of the day, what we are trying to do is for all those opportunities that has been closed within Salesforce. And since Snowflake acts as a data warehouse, we keep pushing data into Snowflake. And then let's say you have Zendesk as an application, right? Uh, the customer or the account of the same opportunity has a Zendesk account, goes and kind of raises a ticket. We also extract that and put that into Snowflake. So at the end of the day, you can kind of analyze that data and understand, okay, this customer is valuable for me. And I already see that Snowflake tells me this customer has 5 open issues, right? Or let's say another kind of data analysis would be, these are just, off the top of my head, right? Let's say sales by product, right? Based on the ordered products data that we have gathered and stored in Salesforce, you can really, do some analysis on the basis of, okay, which are the items that are most sold right out in the market. Also, perhaps by region, because we are storing the customer address data, right? Sales by region is one case. Customer entire life cycle value, right? Which customer is the most valuable, basically. So you can run all those kind of things using our Salesforce connector, and we will see it, of course, in some time. But otherwise, who does this help? I think anyone who wants to analyze the data uh, or kind of push data into Snowflake should be able to see the value of using this connector. Of course, you need to kind of mix it up with other activities. But yeah. Why is it useful? I think, like I said, having data analysis actually, fosters a collaboration, right? Because multiple people can come into one place, look at the data, right, and kind of drive efficiency, right, which is meaningful. Um, and then, of course, data-driven decision making is one of the main things of data analysis. Um, um, yeah, I think competitive positioning, of course, you get these activities. By the way, right now, Snowflake is not available in Studio Web. It is only a Studio Desktop package, but we are making our efforts to make it available in Studio Web by 24/8. That's our plan. Hopefully, we will be able to stick to it. But yeah, just a heads up that you will not be able to find Snowflake in Studio Web today. Um, okay, I guess that's about it for this slide. Now, quickly kind of going through what are the key features, right? Well, the release date was end of July, but I guess it's going to go to uh, you know um, early August. Looking at how things are kind of rolling right now. But one of the requests we heard for Snowflake uh, is having triggers, right? Because if a record is getting created in one of the tables, someone would like to kick off a workflow using that event. Or maybe if a record got updated, perhaps there is also value towards having these triggers. Other than that, we also have a asynchronous query status change trigger. Basically, it correlates with jobs that can execute asynchronously in Snowflake. So if you have worked with Snowflake and the activity pack, you can really run asynchronous activity for over like maybe it can run for 6 hours even, right? In those cases, it's very difficult for an synchronous operation to hold on to that thread, right? In that case, what we do? So we came up with execute any query asynchronously. uh, you can literally, kind of run any query in there, and it will return a query ID to you. And using that query ID, you can kind of figure out what the execution status is, whether it has successfully be completed, or it has ended up in an error state or still running, right? So on and so forth. And once it is successful, you should use the same query ID to kind of get the results. Uh, but how do you understand when the activity got completed? This is actually a complementary trigger, asynchronous query status changed. And using that, you should be able to understand, right, when a asynchronous query kind of ended. Okay, and of course, we have the advanced CRUDs as usual. So basically, full CRUD operation, list all, insert, get, replace, and delete, right? So yeah, I mean, those are the major updates that I wanted to provide for Snowflake. Let's go to the next slide. Zendesk, it's been a while, has been there in production. It is also available in Studio Web, already GA basically. And I just wanted to give a quick view of what we support overall, right? So we have a couple of events with respect to tickets, like created and updated, with respect to users and organizations and groups. Coming to the activities, we have, of course, tickets related curations. Yeah, you can optionally choose to upload attachments. Yeah, so yeah, just to give a quick understanding of what we support in Zendesk. I'll come to your questions. I do see some questions, but I'll make sure to come to them at the end. Salesforce. I think most of us have heard about it. Salesforce is a very renowned CRM. It's one of the heavily most heavily used connectors in our catalog. Um, yeah, so we support events on more or less all the objects in Salesforce, but these are just some curations we have done, like opportunity, relating to opportunities, leads, and contacts, right? Other than that, again, for activities also, we have concentrated on the same objects like lead, account, contact, and opportunities. Um, yeah, but all these activities are complemented with a standard CRUD like Salesforce, just to give an FYI, right? Okay, so I think the automation use case I already talked about, and we'll get to that. Um, these are just representation of what I'm going to show, but yeah, we'll have Salesforce on one side, Snowflake on other side. Accounts will become customers in a Snowflake table. Accounts and contacts will become customers. Opportunity will become sales tracking, and opportunity line items becomes ordered products and goes into those tables. Yeah, overall, this is the workflow we are going to look at. The second workflow, where we will kind of talk to Zendesk and Salesforce, mix the data and get it into Snowflake customer issues table. All right. Now let's go to Studio Web, where I have already made ready some activities. Okay. So let's look at the mainly the Snowflake changes, because Zendesk, like I said, did not undergo any change so far. I mean, since March timeline. Same case with Salesforce, other than a couple of updates. But yeah, Snowflake is undergoing major updates. So one of the things that we also introduced is a new activity called execute select query synchronously. Basically, what this does is a user can actually go to this select query property and let's say select star from a table, right? Persons. Persons is a table in my Snowflake instance. The moment you put the query in there, it kind of showcases a generate output schema button, right? And if you see minutely, we don't have an output already of this activity, right? So let's generate the output schema. Now you see that there is an output generated, right? And if I use it within right line, just quickly add it. We'll be able to see that using the response, what we have received from Snowflake by running this query, of course, we are kind of showing a just-in-time object. Basically, the columns of the table becomes the object, right? Now, I definitely want to get some feedback here from you, and feel free to kind of post it in in the chat, right? Um, in Studio Web, we do not support data table today, right? Which is why, at least from integration service activities, we don't support data tables in Studio Web, which is why, we kind of came up with this generate output schema feature. Because a lot of times, if there isn't a data table and there, the output is really dynamic, users were finding it difficult to kind of design the workflows. So please feel free to reach out to me in the chat. I really want to hear some feedback about this topic. But otherwise, also let me know if you like the feature. So let's say you can literally go and select the first uh, Mm, person ID, perhaps. And if you just, now you can literally put a where clause. Let's say, I'll just say top one, right? Because now my schema is generated output. I can literally go and, um, even put a variable in there, right? Where person ID um, equals, or maybe just select top one star from persons, right? And I'm printing the person ID. So let's just run it. I see someone in chat. Does it support inheritance for output objects? I am not quite sure if I'm getting the ask here. Feel free to unmute yourself and pose your question. Okay. Um, Looks like there's no result or something. But let's see. We'll figure out something. So select star from persons. Let's do this and we'll find a result. Run. Okay, so we'll say where last name equals um, this, right? And let's say this is ID. We have an ID column. Yeah. Now, ideally, this should work. Anyway, I'll take a look at this, but um, the thing is, this is how the output is getting generated, right? The output object is getting generated. Um, so that's one thing, right? I wanted to showcase. Other than that, I was talking about asynchronous activities, right? So execute any query asynchronously. So this one, like I was mentioning, it returns you, I mean, the user would have to provide the query in there and it returns a query ID to us. What we have to do is use this query ID in the either in the trigger for Snowflake, which is basically Snowflake asynchronous query status changed. I should default my connection to something stable. Okay. Yeah, so in the filter, you can just provide the query ID and it will let you know when the status of the query has changed, right? You can optionally select whether it has changed to success um, or it's still running. There are a couple of statuses in here. So that's the query status changed. And we also have the trigger for row created. That's also a new feature. Yeah. So basically record created and record updated. Again, this is very much similar to the standard CRUDs we have. You would need to select the object, um, let's say person, yeah, and then it'll keep listening on that table for a new record created. Same thing for record updated. Um, okay, now I will actually go back to our use case. Oh, sorry, that's in staging. Um, yeah, so we'll go to our first workflow. This is the workflow first, where we kind of fetch the data from Salesforce closed won opportunities and store it in different tables, right? So if I go to my queries, so these are the 4 tables I have created. So let's say select start from customers demo. In this table, we are storing the customer info, address, contact ID, contact email, and stuffs like that. Um, then if we go to the sales tracking demo, here we are storing sort of the header details of the opportunity, right? Um, Amount of the opportunity, account, contact, etc., etc. The next table is ordered products demo. Like I mentioned, here we are storing all the products that are associated with a particular opportunity. And finally, we have the customer issues demo, where we are storing the Zendesk tickets raised by the customers. Um, okay, so let's, so when this activity actually runs, when the workflow runs that I'm going to showcase, we are going to see some record increments in these tables, right? And ultimately, what we want to visualize is, open issues for closed opportunities. This is a dashboard that I have created. You can create your own, of course, and sales by product. Those are the 2 aspects we want to stick to kind of make it a little bit concise. Um, okay, so this is the workflow we have prepared, right? So opportunity closed and won. We are getting the contact from Snowflake, getting the account from Snowflake, executing a select query very similar to the one I had shown you earlier, and to identify if the customer exists within Snowflake. If the customer doesn't exist, then of course we are going to add the customer and then add the opportunity, list the opportunity line item from Salesforce, and then kind of insert the records in Snowflake, right? Um, Basically, the narrative that I just shared, right? Syncing data in between 2 applications. With that, let's go to Snowflake, and I already have an opportunity. What we are going to do is let's first see if this is actually coming in our triggers. Okay, so Sam's ops, and I think that's the same uh, opportunity, right? What we will do is just run it. Just started building the project. Getting the account, executing the query. I have a breakpoint. Sorry about that. Again, executing a query if opportunity exists. Set record. Okay, so looks like the workflow ran. Let's go back to our queries, and if I run this query again, we'll see 4 rows. 4 rows we see. Basically, it added a new customer, and also it added the ordered products demo and sales tracking demo, the opportunity details, right? Now, going to our dashboard, right? If you see here, we have some results in here. Now, if I run this dashboard once more, we will see that these values getting changed, right? Total opportunities or product code. Let's see what happened. Yeah, so we see that one item got sold and only it is associated with one opportunity. Unit price is 50,000. Quantity sold, 1. So we can clearly understand that product GC1060 is being sold more in the market than the other products. Now, let's go to Zendesk. What we are going to do is add a ticket for the same customer, right? So we can, kind of maintain the reference. And what we are going to do is, yeah, put some subject in there. Let's say connector, corner, and I don't know, headphones were not working. Fine. What else? Let's assign some priority. Urgent. Submit as new. In the next workflow, we will take a look at how we are kind of syncing the ticket data into Snowflake. And we will keep the same customer, right? Because the opportunity that was closed was also Cotiviti, and this one is also Cotiviti, right? So let's wait for the workflow to load first. We'll test the trigger so that we kind of understand it's the same ticket that is being inferred within the context of the workflow. 2 items found. First is connector corner, which is the one we want to run this workflow with. Start building the project. Fine. It took some time to kick off. Let's see. Getting the record, listing the contact from Salesforce, and I shouldn't have this breakpoint in here, but let's see. Kind of looks to be stuck in here. Of course, we are in debug. So in real world, you should just be publishing it. Let's actually stop it and give it a shot. So let's test it once more. So this time it worked. Okay, I'll take a note and report it for sure. but looks like our workflow has executed successfully. Now, what I'll go is I don't need to go back to the table to run the queries. I'll just run this dashboard, and we see a new row has been created. And basically, from this dashboard, you're able to understand what's the Salesforce account ID, what's the number of issues that are open, and then the total opportunity amount, right, pertaining to each Salesforce account. Also, the total opportunities, the Zendesk tickets that are, with priority and status, of course, summaries, right, and of course the account name. So looking at this dashboard, you can really understand, which customer is the most valuable to you, and what is the status from a support case resolution standpoint, right? Uh, are are we doing a good job? Are some issues getting closed, or we are not able to close the issues? So things like this, right? Um, so yeah, that concludes our demo, but I do want to kind of go back to our presentation and ask a couple of questions. And I'll hand it over to Diana for that.
Sure. So if everybody, I'm putting the Mintake URL and the code in chat as well. So if everybody can either scan the QR code or enter the code, we'll wait just a little minute to make sure that you guys will have a chance to log in. Thank you.
I see a couple of questions. I'll try to answer them.
Okay.
Um, does the custom builder connector support SOAP, REST, or only REST? Today, it only supports REST API development. Um, but yeah, that said, we do have a plan to kind of extend it to support SOAP web services as well. I'm not quite sure if I understand this question. Does it support inheritance for output object? Again, feel free to unmute yourself and give me some more context so that I can help you out with your question. Okay, I'll go to the next one. Why would you use one of these integrations rather than integration with Informatica? Well, the value is not just the API integrations, right? I mean, UiPath, as a product supports many verticals. So we have document understanding, we have Action Center, which lets you, really easily kind of build your automations, right? RPA is a, is a different thing, and I truly believe integration is a separate thing. Looking at how industry has grown over the past few years, but yeah, I mean, Informatica is something which is very, you know, direct API invocation centric, right? But in UiPath, we are kind of more focused towards, at least the RPA space is more focused towards, um, activity-based, um, you know, uh, automations, right? So yeah, uh, I hope that answers your question, but feel free to follow up. Any plans for Infor M3 connector by integration? Um, no, Infor is not in our roadmap until 2024. But that said, I'll definitely encourage you, Tanmay, to kind of check out the connector builder. If it's REST, of course, I feel the last time I took a look at Infor, it was REST, but happy to be wrong. But yes, if it's REST, please feel free to try out. building a connector from connector builder. We have made plenty of efforts towards improving the experience of building connectors. Um, and I think we also support trigger building, which was absent a few months back. So yes, I think a lot of exciting updates on that aspect. All right, other questions. I see one new. Any plans to introduce connector for 8x8, just like Twilio? Ratnakar, I'm not sure if I follow your question totally. What exactly do you mean by 8x8? Diana, I think the attendees can unmute themselves and also speak, right?
Absolutely. Yeah. Please feel free to just unmute yourself, you guys.
Yeah, yeah. 8x8 is telephony. What would be the use case here, Ratnakar? Sending OTPs, calling, calling your uh,
So the
customers with.
use case,
Hmm,
yeah, Samrat. So the use case that is something like, sending the custom IVR messages over
uh,
through a phone, and the 8 byte as such does provide, an API for that already.
mhm.
But just I was thinking of whether there's an already available connector could have been available, like Twilio is also
Twilio, yeah.
yeah, is, it's that application is, performs a similar task, but as an
Yes.
enterprise we don't use it. So yeah, so that was the question regarding it, and that was the use case.
Yeah, absolutely. And thanks for unmuting yourself and kind of explaining it a little bit more. So, I would actually suggest you to do the same, Ratnakar, right? If you are in need of a connector which is based on REST APIs, we want to encourage our users to use connector builder to address, any urgent tasks, right?
Hmm.
But then also provide us feedback, right? That's what we want to hear more from you. That, you know, hey Samrat, we have a forum, right, in community. Just tag me. Feel free to tag me and ask questions if you are facing problems using connector builder. We really want to hear those feedback so we
Thanks for
can
that.
go work on those, right? So
Yeah, thanks, Samrat. Yeah.
thanks a lot for asking the question. Okay. All right. Other questions? Any feedback around the generate output schema feature? Um, would you use it, or you know, maybe someone would like to stick to data table, right, output for query execution? I'd like to, get some feedback on those lines, right? Um, if that's not right away, feel free to, tag me in community or even email me. Um, just push a DM over LinkedIn, right? But I really want to understand if that's useful, right? Okay, another question from Tanmay is Azure Cosmos DB. Azure Cosmos, I have to go and check. Tanmay, I think I saw it somewhere in our roadmap, uh, but I cannot confirm right away. I don't have a ready answer. I need to go and check our roadmap. but I'll get back to you. I'll reach out to Diana.
Sure. Thanks, Samrat.
Yep.
Any more
Okay.
questions?
How many of you have already used Snowflake? Let's first understand how many of you have kind of used integration service. I mean, just a rough. Uh, Feel free to raise your hands, or you know, let me know.
So I've just started using it with the Salesforce.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So it's just started. I mean, it's just that we need to kind of get the request from the Salesforce application and use those requests and kind of read the data and perform the request for the customer. So that's the entire, I mean, objective behind it. So once we read the customer request, we
Mm-hmm.
provide the details from our ERP system, various ERP systems, and that's as to the customer. So it could be a product request or something like that. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
That's all.
Yeah. Is there? So I see another question. Okay. No. N Sheffield is saying we use Snowflake connector daily. I'd love to hear some feedback. I mean, what are the limitations, challenges? You even like it, or kind of face issues? So, yeah.
Typically,
Mm,
a lot of our data is stored in Snowflake from our CRM system and a bunch of other different applications that we use internally. And we're in particularly using like the native search activity, which for the most part is fine with like simple queries. What we've noticed is if we're doing like any aggregates, like sums, counts,
mm-hmm.
things like that, that native search doesn't really work in those cases. We'll typically replace that Snowflake API integration with just using an ODBC connection and then
Mm-hmm.
executing the queries that way. But that's the only thing that we've run into typically that's throwing an error. The rest of the stuff, as long as it's like a simple query with an output, store it in a data table, throw in a CSV,
Uh-huh.
push those results into a queue, an orchestrator queue, stuff like that. That's kind of what
Mm-hmm.
we're using it for. So
Okay.
those work great.
Okay, good to know. I mean, you just saw the generate output schema feature, right?
Mm-hmm.
Do you think it's going to help you more, right? Because a lot of times traversing through data tables might be a little bit challenging.
Mm-hmm.
And here you kind of get the object right in front of you, right? So you can just use dot notations in reality. Do you think
Yeah.
that's going to help?
Yeah, I think so.
Okay, this is good, right? Perfect. Any other things? Do you think the asynchronous query execution helps? Maybe you have run into issues. I mean, this is just based on some feedback that we have heard in the past. Um, but I just want to make sure we are kind of addressing majority of the users. Also, perhaps the triggers, right? Triggers has been a big ask.
Yeah, I think that'll not that we have a use case for it right now in particular that I can think of, but it will probably come up soon in my head. Like I have some ideas of like how we could use that, but
Mm-hmm. Okay. Okay, perfect. And do you also feel that we should kind of be onboarding the data table experience in Studio Web, or have you even tried Studio Web? I think I should start over there. Or just feel free to share any thoughts that you might have, questions.
We don't typically use Studio Web. We're still using the desktop version.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Makes sense. All right. If none of us have other questions, I think we can close the session. But again, thanks a lot for joining. I'm really grateful that I was able to kind of share some awareness, right, about the next release that's going to happen in August. And I really wanted to focus on Snowflake because that had many asks in the past, and we were kind of having some delays in pushing things to production due to various reasons. So yeah, I think the questions also, the feedbacks also helped. Thanks everyone for that.
Thank you, Samrat, and thank you everybody for attending today's session.
Thank you. Okay. Bye everyone.